the only thing that's tomorrow is for Optimus is going to be the mass production. But when they start mass producing these things and bringing the cost down to $10,000 for a robot, a lot of people might say, well, who's spending $10,000 for a robot? Well, think about it. What are you going to, you can have a robot around your house that now does all your yard work.
Yeah,
changes,
I'll get one.
Rotates your tires, right?
Yeah.
You go out there, the thing just rotated your tires on all your cars. It washed your cars, it detailed your cars, it cleaned the gutters. Yeah. What's up, brother? What are you doing, man?
Oh, well, I told you earlier, I'm fucking, I'm trying to pretend that I'm not hungover. Not very Vitruvian 5,000 of me.
No, not at all. Not at all, man.
But, go ahead.
And you lost your phone, so.
And I lost my phone. So it totally, this is this is a non-optimal day.
You went big last night, I take it. Is that right?
Yeah, man. I don't normally do like the happy hours and stuff. I don't like I'd say 9 out of 10 times I say no. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. But yesterday I was just I went with it and I went a little too far, but we've all been there,
And you paid. I can't do it anymore, man. I cannot do it. I'm just like, I don't have the constitution to bounce back as quickly as I used to when I was 18 years old.
No, so, it sucks. Yeah. It's and every time it happens, you say the same thing and you think the same thing. But I mean, at least I could say confidently that like it's a rare occurrence, but it does happen. It does happen. What are you gonna do?
And yeah, we've all said the same thing forever, which is never again will I ever do this again, and we do.
I thought like you see a lot of people nowadays, like you see it's a big like movement to like quit, like people like no longer socially drinking. The alcohol companies are like kind of taking hits, like. You see a lot of stuff like on social media for like people, like the mocktail business is like booming, like non-alcoholic cocktails and stuff. A lot of people are stopping.
Totally.
But what's interesting, and this goes totally in line with all the shit that we talk about, is like it's so woven into the fabric of like socialization and just it's like woven into our cultural fabric. It's like. People drink when they're depressed. People drink when they're celebrating. People drink, when they get together for occasions and it's so like if you ever like get together with somebody who you haven't seen in a long time, it's like, all right, we'll meet for a drink. You know what I mean? Like it's just fucking so part of, and it's not the greatest thing.
Did I tell you this story about, this is a really good like topic. This is something that I've really been thinking about. I don't know if I told you this. They tell you about the story about the friend of mine who was drowning.
No.
So there was, to me, what so much of what we talk about and we deal with is about state, right? It's about our state.
Sure.
And so
definitely
right? It's like, this is really one of the reasons why I think people don't have so much trouble losing weight is because when our energy and our body gets in a state that is not like in harmony, it's not congruent, the energy, it's what they call like dysregulated. We're in a state that is very uncomfortable. And when we're in that state, human beings will only endure it for so long, right? And then what happens is then they engage in some type of a behavior to try and bring that regulation back or to bring it into another state which isn't so uncomfortable. And so I had a guy that I work with. He was telling me this story about how he was drowning, right? He surfs, and he was down in Mexico, and he was drowning, and there were like 3 or 4 of them out. And one of the things that happens when you surf like places in Mexico, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, any place like that, there's no lifeguards. If there are, they're busy, or it's not like it is.
Yeah.
But even in America, man, when in California, when the surf gets big, you're on your own. You know what I mean? You're
Sure.
out there on
Sure.
your own. Their lifeguards are there to help people that don't really know how to surf, or
Yeah.
swim. And so he was talking about how he went out swimming, and he's a surfer, but he got caught with, and there were 4 of them, his wife and someone else, and they got dragged out in a riptide. And when you're caught in a riptide, you can't fight a riptide. That is like a river running that's like 15 miles an hour, and you can't swim that fast.
You're supposed to go the opposite way, right?
You're supposed to stop, right, and go to the side and try and get out of the riptide. Because if you fight against the riptide, you're not getting out of it. You got to go to the side. And so he started, like, he was getting pulled under and getting pulled out and getting pulled under and getting pulled out. Couldn't deal with it. No lifeguards. The women he was with started to drown, and trying to get to them and help them. And finally, some lifeguards came out. Like, a lifeguard came out and grabbed like 2 of the women, and brought them back. But 10 minutes later, they're not back out there, and he gets pulled under again, and he starts to panic and starts to like almost breathe in water. He's freaking out. So his state was in a state of fight or flight, right? And he's having trouble breathing, and he's just finally got pulled under and was like, this is it, man. I'm done. I'm dead. And finally just relaxes. And when he relaxed and let go of all that fear and panic, he said it was, as he was about to die, he really was flooded with the most blissful, like, just energy. And he was like, this is amazing. And he was like, all right, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to die. But because what I found so interesting about that was when he let go, all of his entire state changed like that. And he went from panic and fear to just complete like acceptance and bliss, and not just acceptance, but like, he said he felt the most amazing feeling. And so he ended up, because he stopped panicking, he actually floated out of the rip. But more important is that he was able to change his state like this. And so what I love about like the whole Zen and samurai and all is that it's all about letting go. Like, when you competed in jiu-jitsu, when you go in there and you're like, I need this, I don't want to do this. When you can let go, it's actually the most amazing experience.
Yeah, that's when you do the best.
Yes. One time I think it was my blue belt or purple belt at Pan Am's, and I was being walked out of the bullpen by, you walk out with your opponent and the referee's like walking you out. And I remember looking around, and it was like psychedelic. And it was the most amazing experience. And it was because I was able to achieve a mental state and physical state where I didn't care, and I just had let go. Now, it's difficult for me to do that in any competition. It is very difficult. That was just the one where I was like, wow. But I'm bringing it back to, with drinking. We have a state where, let's say we're going to meet someone, we're going to meet a client or whatever, and or friends even that we haven't seen for a while. We're in kind of an anxious state without even realizing it subconsciously, because we haven't seen this person or we haven't met with this person. So what do? We want to drink. Why?
To change the state.
Drink changes the state.
It's
really cool to understand that so much of our motivation, because what happens from state is stories come from state, thoughts come from state. And so sometimes people are like trying to deal with their thoughts when they need to get down even deeper and deal with their state. And I find that for losing weight, it's a big deal because we want to change our state. One of the primary ways is not alcohol, it's food. So a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
times people get into a overstressed state and they're coping all the time with food.
Yeah,
And it's
sure.
like, that's the problem. The problem is the state. We have to deal with the state, to be aware of the state, to figure out what's getting you into that state that makes you want to compulsively, subconsciously eat to change it. Once you can get to
Yeah.
that, then it's not about willpower. Is nonsense, man. Doesn't work. Doesn't work.
Yeah, it's like it's almost like you have to, and I think this is the basis of like all vices and all like bad behaviors that are meant to fill voids, and it's all because you
Every
just
single
want to.
one.
It's all because you want to just change that state and get to like a level of zero and be able to just be calm and at peace with yourself right where you are in that moment. And we use so many fucking bad things to replicate or to try to achieve that. And most of the time, all of those things, they'll touch the state for a very brief momentary like moment, but it doesn't really work, doesn't ever sustain, or like, the consequences are terrible, or, hangovers, or whatever whatever you want to call it. It's
Whatever it
crazy.
is,
It's crazy.
overspending. Sometimes when
Yep.
we compulsively are thinking about buying something, what
Yep.
happens is that the more we think about it and we fantasize about it and research the thing that we're going to buy, we all do it. I do it,
Yeah.
whether it's a new gi or a new car or a new watch or
Yep.
whatever,
Yep.
new
Yep.
computer, new phone. We think about it, it changes our state because now we're in this anticipation state. And that's
Yep.
why once we buy it, it kind of like wanes. We lose
Yep.
that its ability to change our state because it was really the anticipation that we were, that we were into.
It's so crazy,
Fucking
man. It's
crazy,
so
man.
crazy.
Dude.
It's so
I
crazy.
just saw the craziest TikTok video, and TikTok, another nonsensical thing that changes
Yeah.
state. So I was just I rarely get on it, but I looked at it and something came up, and they were saying that when nannies were hired into the house, one of the things that they would do for teenage boys if they couldn't get to sleep was give them hand jobs. Now, I don't know if this is true, but it was the same thing.
Wait, what country is this?
America.
Whoa, I never had a nanny like that. I wish. That's amazing.
So what they were saying is that it makes sense, is like if the teenage boy was in an agitated state, then to get them to go to sleep,
that'll do it. Wow.
Right?
Wait, was this like one specific, or this was like a fucking like there's a scene. It's
a scene, bro. They were like in the 1800s and early 1900s. This was common practice.
Wow. Holy shit. Where'd that custom go?
I know, right? So if it's not true, then I do know. Listen, man, I do know that when you could research this, that when women would go to their doctors, the doctor would do the same thing for them in that same time period. This was probably a very common practice. The doctor would give them orgasms.
Wow. Dude, fucking life is crazy. With the
to change their states.
Humans are amazing.
Vitruvian 5000.
Vitruvian 5000.
Dude, isn't it crazy? It's wild. And, we think that like the way we live and our norms and cultural norms and, all that is the way things are. And it's like,
I was saying
history,
that,
man. Dude.
I was having a conversation with somebody the other day about that, about how like we're so like as much as we think we know and as all the information that we have, like we do such a poor job of contextualizing history and like how many things that, you know, like our life and our world right now, like has been so many different iterations and versions, and so many of the things that are happening have already happened. And like, and we don't use any of that in context ever.
No, no. And that's why travel is so good. We talked about Moshe Shugyo before.
Yeah.
That's what, because it breaks you out of that. You know, you've done it where you're like, this is not how humans are all the time. You know,
Yeah.
like I think it's funny that so many people, you know, they idolize like so, especially from jujitsu community, MMA community, but really the whole alpha male type movement is, oh, you know, the Greek warrior, the Roman warrior, the samurai. What they don't, some of the things from a cultural thing that they don't understand is they were all gay. Like
Yeah.
these
Yeah. Yeah.
guys
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
all gay, even samurai.
It's
So it's
crazy.
like, dude, yeah,
It's like, yeah,
break your mind out.
peak alpha male is gay. How about that?
Isn't that crazy? And
Yeah.
we can't even fathom that, right?
No.
So the Greek during submission grappling actually debuted in the Olympics in like I think it was 708 BC, and it was pancration that came after in 648 BC. But before that, it was wrestling, and wrestling was submission grappling. It was not wrestling. It wasn't freestyle wrestling and coach style coach. I mean, the type that we do in college right now, folk style wrestling, and so. But dude, it was submissions, chokes, all of that. And dude, they would wrestle, they would get naked and oil themselves up, and that's how they wrestle.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, exactly. So the whole alpha man, two naked men oiled up in an arena, that's how they did it. It's like you have to part of like I think part of growth of becoming like being able to like transform and ascend our limitations has to involve this the prison that I'm getting out of, that the old me, part of it is my cultural norms and expectations. We realize that these things are, you know, they're just spoon fed to us and they're not laws. They're just
Yeah.
norms.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's all made
Anyways,
up. It's all made up. People have just been iterating upon iteration and just making new shit up and getting other people to agree with it. And like there's no rule, there's nothing. It's weird because like I don't like to go down the path of like everything is meaningless, because I think like what you give meaning to has meaning. But
yeah.
but like there really is no like the foundation is just the river that keeps fucking flowing, and you're never going to step in the same river twice. Like it's just rolling, and
It's just
it's
wrong.
always gonna be rolling, and you can't really spend too much time and energy trying to have it figured out or dialed in, or because there isn't. You just got to go with it. It's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're in a way though it is true that nothing does matter. There is nothing, you know, they say that like on deathbed, like, you know, regrets. The number one deathbed regret is I worked too hard. Yeah, in our
Yeah, so I spent too
society,
much
we
time.
attach so much of our value to work. You know, why do
Yeah.
we do that? Why do we do that? Why do we attach so much value to work? I saw this great thing. We're in Three Body Problem, right? That I don't know if
So
we went
amazing, right?
so good,
Fucking
so
amazing. I finished
good,
it. I'm like blown away. Blown away. But go ahead. Go ahead.
so good. No, I love it. I love it. But I love one of the things that the Sophon where she was talking to him and they were like, why are you going to conquer us and destroy us, or why are you trying to slow down our development? And one of the things I thought that was so illustrative that she said was over 100,000 years, human sapiens were hunter-gatherers, right? And
Mhm.
then 10,000 years ago, finally, we learned a technology which was agriculture. So we became farmers. And then when we became farmers, that was for 10,000 years. And then we learned we had the Industrial Revolution, right? And that was 150 years ago. And then roughly 150 years ago, then we had 20 years ago, we had this information explosion, this new age. We went from agricultural industrialization, and then we went to information technology. And that was a new one. And now we're on the cusp of a new one, which is artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about it is that if you look at, this goes to what we were saying, is if you look at the cultural norms, expectations, the rules, the way that we think the world is, they're really fed to us based on a current technology, right? So when we were hunter-gatherers, if you look at like the oral traditions and religions of that time and the myths, it was just a lot like, it's more like the Indians, right? The Native Americans, and how, there's this harmony with the universe, blah, blah, blah. Well, when you're a hunter-gatherer, property means nothing. Land means you just
Yeah.
move and you move and you move and
It's
you move.
just survival.
And work isn't really, those people in hunter-gatherers would work 10 to 15 hours a week because you go out and you forage and you hunt and that's it. But when we started with agriculture, that's a lot of work. That's an insane amount of work. And so now our myths, our religions, they start to have stories that really lionize and give a lot of worth to work. And so if you look at the Bible, so much of the parables and stories involve like wheat and wheat from the chaff, and you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
So much of it is farming, right? And that even kind of carried over when, and if you look at our laws at that time, all of a sudden we have slavery. Humans didn't have slavery when they were hunter-gatherers because there was no need for it, but we needed someone to work the fields. And even the Bible and all that supports slavery and talks about how the slaves should listen to their masters. And then you go on to the Industrial Revolution, and we molded that because it happened so quick, right? That we molded that. And now in our capitalist society, so much of it is your worth is tied up in how much you work.
Yeah.
Like,
doesn't the Sophon say the reason why we want to come is because you guys are too dangerous, right? Isn't that what she says?
No, they wanted to. No, where we were too dangerous was they couldn't coexist with us. Yeah, they couldn't coexist with us because we lied, and they didn't lie. They didn't even know how to lie.
I interpret it as like basically like what you're just saying. Like I interpret it like if we give you guys, like if we don't come and take you over, you guys are gonna eventually innovate and develop ways to destroy us. You're too dangerous.
No, they were coming because their planet was rotated,
going through like a calamity event or something.
No, they had three suns. And so that was that astrophysics problem of the three-body problem. When you have three celestial bodies like that, there's no way to predict when a catastrophe is coming. There was no way. And so they had to escape their system. And because we sent the signal, then the woman sent the signal. Now they know where we are. And so they're like, wow, you have one sun, we're coming. And then along the way, they realized that we were liars. And that's when they were like, we're going to destroy you, because what will happen is that in that intervening 400 years that it's going to take for us to get there, you're going to develop so much farther ahead of us. So we need to stop your physics. and your
That's
understanding of
so
that.
crazy.
So cool. So cool. Yeah. So
you think there's anything out there? Like what's your personal opinion of you think there's like life on other planets and extraterrestrials?
Of course.
I guess they're almost like it would be more realistic to wager that there is than that there isn't, right?
I mean, it's, I'm such a sci-fi geek, but from we don't even know if the universe is infinite. We don't know. We don't have any idea. We only can see as far as we can see. It's called the observable universe. So there's a chance that the universe is infinite. And if it is infinite, that really just becomes a mathematical probability. And if the universe is infinite, then there is somewhere out there another planet that is exactly like ours and has a version of me and a version of you. You know, it's mind, but our minds can't even understand. In fact, it was a big deal for humans to even invent the concept of infinity and apply it to mathematics. But if that is the case and we're infinite, then yeah, there's not only life out there. I mean, just with the James Webb Telescope, we're seeing so much farther than we are now. Like our concept of physics is broken, of astrophysics and yeah, astronomy and all that. So anyways, so back to what we were saying. So it's going to be really, we were talking about, for the subject of this particular podcast, to talk about AI. What really is going to be fascinating is what are going to be the new myths that are going to, because we're going to need new myths, because the myths
it's
that
a
we have
rewiring
right now,
of the whole game.
The whole culture.
The whole game completely has to start over, and new things have to. And I think that's the scariest thing for everybody, because it's like the mind is not, like, we're not wired up that way. We're all like what you're talking about. We're all based in, our whole society is built off of these older myths, these versions, these cultural subtexts. Yes. Mm-hmm. What the fuck, Nick? This is crazy.
I know.
Crazy.
And it's going to, and it could break us. A lot of people think that, the problem, will be the jobs being displaced and all that, and is society going to break down? But the real breakdown that is going to occur is going to be right here, because we have the wealth to distribute so that nobody goes hungry. We have the wealth to distribute so no one has to work again. When machines are doing the jobs that we used to do, and that's happening now. That is already, if you really delve into this, that is already happening in every field. And, when you look at what current robotics are able to do, they are going to be able to do every single, blue collar job. And as far as white collar jobs, AI is already passing the bar. It's already passing any medical, it's not even, it's a foregone conclusion. It's going to happen. So the question is, can we develop and really, can you see me? Am I on right now?
Yeah. Just Riverside threw up a code. I can see you. Yeah.
Okay. So can we not only conjure up new myths, but can we assimilate them into our whole cultural thinking? That's going to be the hard part.
And how do you get like all of these governments and systems that are in charge? How do you get all of those folks to agree? Because like theoretically, in order for it to happen, you need consensus. You need a certain amount of consensus, because if you don't have it, people are going to flip. Because we can't even, I mean, dude, there was a fucking, there was a really bad flu, and the whole fucking world almost fell apart because, people were kind of getting sick, kind of, you know what I mean? Now you're talking about rewiring the entire fabric of how human beings experience the world. It's heavy.
How do we
heavy,
distribute wealth? How do we distribute all of it? How do we even assign worth? Because we love ranking comparing ourselves to everyone else, And so, especially in America, some cultures like Japan or Scandinavian cultures, they are much more homogenous, but we in America are very, very about rank. It's all about social caste system. So how are we going to do that? We're going to be seeking a way, right, to differentiate ourselves. And can we become more homogenous? I don't know, man. Can our social? I don't know. You bring up a great point, though. That is the issue.
I think that it's going to be, I always maintain the optimism, but I think because I do think that we have not even dreamt up yet or envisioned all of the new benefits and positives that are going to exist in this world. And I think that as those start to kind of manifest, you're going to get momentum. But I do think that it's very possible that we're going to experience some seriously nasty turbulence, over the short term. And I've always had, not always, but I've long had the theory that Silicon Valley is going to become the new government. Silicon Valley is going to either be annexed by the federal government, or they're going to go to war with each other. And and that's going to be the civil war, because I think you have this small group of individuals that control all of this power, and it's not the government. You know what I mean? The government doesn't run OpenAI. The government doesn't control Elon. You know what I mean? The government doesn't control Bezos and Zuckerberg. It's a small group of individuals that really have limitless power over our society. And I see the comic book version where they become Lex Luthor, you know what I mean? Or they convince themselves that they have to, be the rebels and be the people that turn against what the government's doing. And you know what I mean? And then how does the government stop that?
Yeah.
The government servers are probably on AWS, Amazon system, how? Eventually, I feel it's going to come to a head. Scary.
It has to. It has to. Yeah, I'm really pumped. This weekend I'm going to go watch. I love Alex Garland, who did a director of Ex Machina.
That's a great movie.
Such a great movie. So his new movie is dropping tonight. I'm going to jiu-jitsu tonight, but tomorrow or Sunday I'm going to go see Civil War, and that's what this is.
What's it called?
It's about.
It's called Civil War.
Civil War. Yeah.
And it's about this.
So
Jesus, scary.
Yeah, it's not about AI. It's just about society just falling apart.
Falling apart.
And he's a master, and they say it's amazing. They're like, this movie is great. It's great, dude. So I sent you a video of I'm driving the Tesla with the full self-driving, the FSD.
It's crazy. Crazy,
dude. It was insane. It was insane.
Crazy. But that's your car. You got the car.
Yeah. And they dropped an update for everybody, where everyone has full self-driving for, I don't know, a month or so. And so I was I got in the car. So when I sent you the video, that was the first minute that I was
picking it up.
That I was, I was so you just turned it on, and all of a sudden the car starts going. You're going through intersections. It's signaling. And what's really wild about it is that, so, with neural networks, what they've really created is a brain, and the brain learns based on information, right? So LLMs are a neural network, but they train on language. And so that's where all ChatGPT and all that comes from. But, you also have neural networks that learn, like self-driving right here. They're learning off of other data, and the data that they're learning off of, this big brain that Tesla has, it's been learning for, 10 years, something like that, on all of the video, because my Tesla has all these cameras and it's filming and sending video back. And
So
that
crazy.
video is being used by this big brain. And what's wild about it is the big brain is not just learning about how to drive. The big brain is learning about how the physical world works. Because driving or walking or whatever it is, it's three-dimensional going through the world. And so it's learning about how to interact in our world, this big brain. And that big brain that now knows how to drive, because it only has to learn how to drive once it knows how to drive. And so then it's improving with every second of new video. So now all these people are using full self-driving. That is just going back and training the brain to get even better. The brain only has to get in a wreck or almost get in a wreck one time at a certain location, and it learned. It never does it. It never has that issue again. So, but what's so fascinating about it is that Elon Musk also within Tesla started a division for Optimus, which is their full robot,
the humanoid robot. Yeah.
A lot of people think, well, that must just be a hobby of his, and why does that work with Tesla? Well, it works with Tesla because now he's got the robot that is stronger, faster, more agile, more coordinated than any human being. And it just needs its brain. It needs information to learn. It needs to learn how to interact with the outside three-dimensional world. Well, guess what? It already has it from all the cars.
Yep. And with
so that's
GPT,
why
it's going to have
Optimus
the language.
works with Tesla. That's right. So now you combine the brain, the neural network for the interaction and navigating throughout the three-dimensional world. And you combine that with LLMs, chatbot, and now all of a sudden today, you have not tomorrow, today, you have a humanoid robot that can fully have a conversation and interact and walk around and perform tasks in the world. It's already here. The future is now. It's already now. It's not tomorrow.
I know. No, it's happening.
The only thing,
it's happening.
Yeah, the only thing that's tomorrow is for Optimus is going to be the mass production. So, but when they start mass producing these things and bringing the cost down, to $10,000 for a robot, a lot of people might say, well, who's spending $10,000 for a robot? Well, think about it. What are you can have a robot around your house that now does all your yard work.
Yeah, I'll get one.
Rotates your tires, right?
Yeah.
You go out there, the thing just rotated your tires on all your cars. It washed your cars, it detailed your cars, it cleaned the gutters.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and then eventually it's going to be, working in your factories, and it's you know what I mean? Like it's over. It's over. Like, what do we do though? What are we supposed to do? Like, what the fuck?
And then it's going to be a nanny to your teenage sons and putting them to bed.
Giving them hand jobs.
Are you ready for the future? Because it's coming.
Oh my God. Robot nannies giving hand jobs. That's the name of this episode.
No doubt, man. No doubt. Vitruvian 5000. Wow. Yeah.
Vitruvian 5000 is cool. I love that. I love it.
I love it too, man. That's the name. I love it. So wow. Yeah. So dude, so now it's like, yeah, you are going to spend the money, and I am going to spend the money. You already have, one of the primary issues that plagues humanity, a large portion of humanity, is loneliness.
Yeah.
So
That's like, have you ever seen the like, have you ever seen like, they'll be on TikTok a lot actually, like those ads for like a ChatGPT girlfriend, like to where it's like, you know, have somebody to talk to, you know what I mean? Like, and talk to them about anything you want. It could be sexy, it could be friendly, it could be, and it's like, who's doing that? But there's probably people fucking doing that.
Probably.
There are. It has to
dude,
be. Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's already so big. I mean, it's already so big. And when you can combine that with a humanoid robot, and then there are already companies that are creating like totally lifelike females and males, right? That you can use for companionship, for sex, for everything.
Yeah.
When you combine the LLM brain, right? So it can talk with and you take off all the gates. So it'll talk about whatever you want. It'll, sex talk, whatever. And then you combine its ability to interact in the world and perform tasks for you. And then you put a skin over it, right? Which is so lifelike. And where you can have sex with this thing.
When the ex machina chick is available on the market, it's a wrap. It's over.
Exactly.
Like society's gonna crumble. It's gonna fucking crumble.
It's over, bro. It's coming. It's not coming. It's here, man. We are so close to this happening.
But are we gonna figure it out? Are we gonna figure it out? Is it gonna be like dystopian, like, we got to figure it out. I don't want to have a fucked up world, but I'm into the cool stuff that's coming.
Yeah. There's this quote that said that physics advances one death at a time. And what they mean by that is that sometimes for change to occur, the old guard has to die. And the new guard, once the baby boomers are all dead, a lot in our world will change. And then once we're dead, a lot in our world will change. So that's why when I hear people say, oh, this generation compared to like our generation, I'm like, man, you sound like such a fucking moron.
Because every generation has said that for forever. Every generation says that.
It's the dumbest freaking thing to ever say. Is this generation, if they did what it's like, can you sound any more ignorant than that?
Yeah, it's true.
What did you walk in the snow for 50 miles? It's like, shut the fuck up, man. Every generation is different. And so I think what's going to happen is that, we have a generation, our generation and the generation before us, and maybe even the generation, beneath us, they attach self-worth to working, right? Working hard. I work hard. It's the whole American thing. It's like a brag thing, right? It's a humble brag to say, I work 60 hours this week. I work 80 hours this week. I worked 100 hours. I'm like, man, I don't want to work anything, man. I want to be on the beach in Fiji. What are you talking about? So I think that you bring up a really good point. I think we're going to experience a lot of tearing apart before we come back together. Can we? The question is, will we survive enough to come back together?
Shit. Heavy.
Right? Because we got all these changes are coming, and they're coming hard and they're coming fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we have these robots, man, holy shit, dude.
Unbelievable.
You getting one? You putting it in order?
Without a doubt. But I won't be like the way that I am is like, I'm not going to be the first guy, but I'm not going to be the last guy either. Yeah.
So what would you do? Let me ask you this. What would you do if you go over to your friend's house and he's got this robot, right? And you go to your next door neighbor's house, or you look in the window and he's got this robot, and you see that he's having sex with this robot, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, this is the craziest shit I ever saw, right? What would you then do if you went in after everything's done and you're like, I got to see this robot. It's brand new. This is like the talk of the neighborhood. I got to go see it. And you go in and you see this robot and you see that it looks exactly like your wife. What would you do?
He ordered that model. That'd be fucking incredible. That's funny. That's funny. That is amazing. What do you do? Like, what do you like? Yeah, because I was on a podcast once where they were talking about like if you know what I mean, like same scenario, like what if your wife ordered one for herself? Like, you know what I mean? Like, would you let her use it? You know what I mean? And is that cheating? You know?
And think about it. Like, so we have this old myth from, in the Bible, right? From 10,000, thousands of years ago, from that old agrarian age. And it still is around today, but it's like, don't covet thy neighbor's wife. Well, in today's society, right? I mean, in the next, Vitruvian 5,000 society, is that going to be something that it's like, well, that's not your wife. It's just a likeness of your wife, right? She didn't.
Yeah.
So we're going to have rules, not cultural norms and laws against that, because I think what's going to happen is that the way I envision it is not only will people have this Optimus, right, but they're going to customize it to their fantasy.
Yeah.
And they're going to be able to customize it all the time. You want to put a new skin on it you could just order it. Think about this. You order the skin, you 3D print it, you fucking put it on the thing. The next day you could put another one on the thing.
Have you seen what is the name of the show? It's a Netflix show. It's one of the first. It was one of the first like original programming that they had. I think it's called Altered Carbon. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah. Very cool.
That whole thing, like with the stacks and the skins, like that is a very interesting concept and like pretty cool. Like I think like that would be a technology that if they could get that to work, I'd be like, yeah, let's do that. That's pretty cool.
I know. To change
you're just a hard drive,
put it into a new,
but you can theoretically live forever. That's an interesting thing.
Yeah,
because like what are we? Like we still don't know. Like what are we? We still have no idea what we are. Where like are we the like when you just talked about the components of the AI, like the Optimus or the car driving through, the spatial arrangement, the large language model, the physical, like when you think about it, like what that's like what we are. We're just like this collection of systems. And like when you think about language, I think about this all the time because I speak Spanish fluently, and I think about. And like what you were saying about how like when you travel and you go to different countries, well, if you take it even deeper and you speak another language and the way that like words are put together and the nuance, like the slight differentiators there are to like the same topics or the same words or the same things, but yet there's difference. Like we're like this endless updating computer that's just like intaking, putting out but what are we? We're just making it up. We have no idea what we are. We have no idea other than like we have to consume to survive. We'll only last a certain amount of time and we keep making new things. So like, but what are we? We have no idea. Some people default to God. Some people say, the Big Bang, but like we don't know. Like were we crafted in some alien shop, 400 light years away from here and like dropped off like to be like this little worker ant society that like just like fucking like what the fuck is going on?
Did you ever see the Ray Kurzweil the kind of he's credited with inventing the term the singularity as far as
Yeah,
defining. Yeah. Did you see
Yep.
his documentary? I don't remember if it was called the singularity.
I
Or
haven't.
but
He was recently on. He was recently on Joe Rogan. I didn't watch it, but he was on Rogan recently, right?
He's amazing. I don't know. I didn't see it. He's amazing though.
I think so.
And he's been predicting that we'll be uploading our minds into the same thing, like what you're saying with the stack into a skin. We'll be able to do it. And it really begs the question, well, what are we? Are we a collection of memories? Are we a collection of urges and all of our
you said
algorithms?
It better. That's a collection of memories, a collection of concepts, a collection of stories.
Of stories. That goes back to the ancient rishis that I've always talked to you about. It's like, listen, man, it's all about, the brain is a storytelling. That is the real singularity happened with, in my mind, in my opinion, it happened with once we developed the ability to tell stories, then we could inspire people to come together and build pyramids. Before that, we're monkeys. Monkeys they don't have that ability to band together and tell stories like we do. We could tell a story that will unite millions of people. This is a dollar bill. It's worth X, Y, and Z. That's just a fucking story. That's all that is.
I know.
That's all it is. It's just a story, man. So once we become aware that the stories are not real, none of them are real. They're all fiction. It's all about fiction, and it's all based on this ancient technology that Homo sapiens, developed, which is the ability to tell stories using symbols, like these are AirPods, but that's really AirPods. That's just a symbol that Apple created to attach to this physical device. But that's the way every word works for the physical
I think about
world,
that. I think about that all the time, about how a word is just something that somebody, ascribed meaning to. Like somebody gave that word and made it be based on them providing the power or the meaning, or like they're just like, what's a word? And that's why I think about that a lot in the context of speaking another language, and about how like when the concept of lost in translation, like that's a real thing. It's a real thing. So
I remember
crazy.
one time I was 19 years old, and it is wild, because when you speak another language, like I've learned a bit of Italian and had to converse in it when I was living over there, is that you do realize it does force you to have some objectivity on that process. I never had that objectivity, whereas you have that objectivity because you're thinking in two ways, and so you're watching your brain. The way I did in Italian, you're watching your brain assign it to both.
It's a crazy thing when you start thinking in another language. It's something that, like, if you've never experienced that, it's like a monumental moment of humanity. It's a real mind blower. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very cool. I remember when I had to be 19 years old, and someone gave me a bag of mushrooms, right? Psychedelic mushrooms, like this big, right? And I'd never taken mushrooms, and I didn't know anything about it. All I know is I read Dune, and I wanted to frickin' take mushrooms because I wanted to be Paul Muad'Dib and to drink the water of life. And so I was like, So someone gave me a big bag, and they didn't explain, they didn't tell me anything.
Yeah.
And so I was going to a concert, and I was waiting for my girlfriend outside of her classroom at college. And I'm sitting there, and I'm just eating them. And I ate almost the whole bag, which is like 18 grams, 15 to 18 grams. Right. And you're supposed to probably take like 2. And so I'm like, I'm just not feeling anything. So I just kept eating them. I remember later that night where I was like, I remember writing on a piece of paper, THE, the word and I could not, my brain could not assign a symbol. I didn't know what it was. It was so crazy to be completely divorced from that process of the symbol. I was just like,
So crazy.
yeah, so crazy. So anyways, yeah. So anyway, we're, you know, all of this, I think you hit on it the best, is that when we're going to this Vitruvian 5,000, you know, next state for humanity, is that the context for everything is going to be ripped out. And that's what people have to get comfortable with. It's like, we don't know where we're going, and we got to be really comfortable not knowing. And humans have a very difficult time not knowing. They would rather know something wrong than know and have the wrong idea than have no idea.
Wow. So true. It is so true.
Yeah. All right, brother. Yes, we did it again. Nice. Mind blowing. Mind blowing.